Hey team, so the Vantrue N4 Pro 4K dash camera has finally come in from Amazon. Let's get this thing unboxed and do a quick overview, and then let's dive into the review. Slider on over here, and let's take a look and see all the stuff that I got. That one's a stubborn one. So I did get the CPL polarized filter, and the reason for that is because I do a lot of daytime driving. What I like about this thing is that I can take it off at night, I can put it back on during the day. So I'm kind of pumped about testing this out, checking it out, from daytime, nighttime, seeing the difference there. For those of you that are dash cam aficionados, you guys know that these polarized lenses don't really help things at night, but this is my first time of ever having a polarized lens, so I'm curious to see what this looks like. So I've got that. We've got the Vantrue hardwire. We've got the hardwire kit. And the packaging is pretty good. I wanted to do a hardwire kit because this has a parking mode feature enabled. And with this parking mode kit, if the voltage drops below a set amount, then it will turn off the dash cam. So if my Jeep is sitting for several days or a week or what have you, and the voltage starts dropping, especially because for those of you that subscribe to my channel, you guys know I've got that PKE system, the passive keyless entry. So that thing does draw on the battery, right? After about 7 days, 8 days, it can completely kill the Jeep if I don't start the Jeep. So I like the fact that I've got this hardwire kit, and it's going to allow me to save my battery from completely depleting. That way, when I do go out to the Jeep, if it's been a week or two, my Jeep will still be able to start. Well, that's of course assuming that the PKE system from EasyGuard hasn't completely killed it. And that's not me bashing EasyGuard, that's just me saying it's just part of the system of having a PKE system, which is a passive keyless entry system. If you guys haven't seen that video, I encourage you guys to go check that video out. So here is where I'm able to switch between 12 volts, 11.6 volts, and then for those of you that are outside the United States, that might have 24 volts. Can you guys see that? Doesn't seem like it's in view. It's very in focus. There we go. Now you guys can see. So that allows you to switch. It's pretty nice. This is the brains of the unit. Of course, this is going to be negative, red wire is positive, and then your ACC wire coming in here for the yellow. And this will be ran up the A-pillar, around the windshield, and then it'll connect up to the Vantrue N4 dash cam. So that's it for this box. This is that Vantrue Nexus N4 Pro. Let's jump right into it. And he gives you a brief rundown of how things are supposed to operate. This does come with a rear camera. Now, some of you could use this as another secondary external camera pointing towards the front, or a secondary camera that's pointing towards the interior. Of course, your mileage may vary, like with all things, but most people are going to be using this as a rear camera. And speaking of the rear camera, that's this guy here. Really small form factor. And we've got the front dash cam, and this one also has a built-in interior facing dash cam as well. This is what that looks like. Left side, nothing, but on the right side, here is where you've got the magnet, and you've got your SD card slot that goes right there, and then your reset button as well. Let's get this turned over. So this allows you to go through a bunch of the different menus. You can also turn off or on Wi-Fi along with the recording. These are quick action buttons that you can get to immediately without having to get your phone out and then hooking up to the Wi-Fi, which this does have 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi transmission, so that's really, really nice. And then this guy, that is your interior facing. It does have infrared, so I'm pretty stoked about that. None of the cameras that I have on my dash cam are currently infrared. And then a brief rundown of what each button does here. This channel is turning into an ASMR. So yeah, there we go, Vantrue N4 Pro. If there was something that I would that I'm already noticing that I'd like to change. I wish that this was just not there, not present at all, because when I'm looking at my vehicle, I really don't want anyone to see the letters here. I would much rather that this be just completely removed, or if they have to put their branding on there, which I understand is good for marketing purposes, if they just used black letters instead of this silver. What I could do is I could always paint this or put a black piece of tape over it. Time will tell, of course, what I decide to do. But again, that's just a personal preference. That's just me. If I'm a thief that's looking on the interior of a vehicle and I'm facing the front of the vehicle and I see this here, well, then I know that they've got a dash camera. And then I feel like that might be something worth breaking their window or breaking into their door and then grabbing this dash camera and taking it. Let's see what's next in the box here. It's foam. So this is the power wire. Oh, no, okay. This is going to be the wire that goes from the front of the dash cam that you fish all the way to the rear dash camera. So that's what that guy's for. This, I believe, is just used for you to hook up your dash camera off of your windshield, and then you can connect it to your PC. So here they've got two films. Basically what you do is you clean your windshield, you put one film down on the windshield, and then you put your dash camera over this film. The reason that they are starting to do this now is because for those of you that have had a dash cam in the past, you know that the adhesive sticker can be a real pain in the butt to remove off of your windshield. Well, with something like this, you can easily peel this off, and then your whole dash cam adhesive will also remove from the windshield. So it'd be very, very easy in the future. If you ever decide to upgrade to, say, another Vantrue dash camera that comes out, you'll be able to do that in a much simpler fashion. And yeah, there are two of them. For those of you that are into security stickers, you've got your security stickers here that you can put on your vehicle just to kind of warn people that you do have a dash camera. Now, me personally, it's not something that I would use because I want to be as discreet as possible. You've got your adhesion promoter that they send you. That's really nice. And then you've got the cleaning cloth, and this polyester cloth is just used in order for you to clean the lens without scratching it. That's what you use this guy for. And of course, I would imagine that some people will also use it to clean the screen too. Last box. Yeah, this is just the charger, and I would imagine cable. Oh no, okay, we got way more stuff in there. We've got the trim panel tool that allows you to shove your wiring up into the windshield as well as down the A-pillar, so that's going to come in handy. Oh, that's great. You've got secondary stickers, one for the rear camera and then another secondary sticker for the front camera. This is in case you don't get the placement just right. That's my assumption that they give you two here, so that if you don't get it right the first try, you can certainly do it again without having to go and get double-sided adhesive tape from Home Depot or from Lowe's. It's already provided for you. Yeah, this is the temporary wiring to the front dash camera. Now, this is going to be something that I use temporarily. The reason I say that is because I've got the hardwiring kit. So with the hardwiring kit, this I don't even need. This is just going to be hardwired straight to the dash camera. So I'm looking forward to using this hardwired dash camera. For the time being, to save me some time for this video, I'm just going to use this though. In a future video, if you guys are interested, you guys can let me know in the comments below. I will make a future video on how I install my hardwire system that Vantrue sent me. Here is the bracket. This part goes on the windshield, and then this part is what's going to connect to your Vantrue N4 Pro dash cam. And this is what that looks like. What I really like about this system is that it's magnetic. So it just stays on just like that. And then you're able to move it up and down on the windshield in order for you to make sure that it's facing the correct way, the correct orientation. And then if for whatever reason you might be parking in a bad area or you might be gone for a long time, you can always remove this and it easily separates because there's a magnet on there. So that's really, really nice. And then this side, of course, as you can see here, this has that double-sided adhesive. So I'm way down here for a second because I want to talk about the form factor of the Vantrue N4 Pro that also has a interior facing camera. And then I want to talk about my old setup, which is my DDPAI Mini 5 and then my DDPAI Mini 1. I want to talk about this because I feel like it's important for people like me to know what you're getting into when you're moving up to something that is as nice but also as bulky as this N4 Pro from Vantrue. This thing is absolutely huge, right? I mean, when you compare my Mini, my DDPAI Mini to the size of these two. Now, obviously, the mount on the N4 Pro is right here, but also the mount for the DDPAI Mini is right here as well. So this is both of them with their mounts on, and the sheer thickness of these two, you guys can see that. The sheer thickness of these guys is wild. I mean, let's get that back up here. You see how the front camera sticks out of the Vantrue N4 Pro, and on the DDPAI Mini, it just sits inside of the cylinder. But this to me is something that should be talked about, because if you're anything like me, you don't have a very large windshield, and with that comes, you know, something that's this big, and so and wide, mind you. It's much wider than the Mini here. So because of that, I would dock 1 star if there was a system here. Let's say docking 1 star out of 5, because this thing is so big. It's so huge. And yes, a lot of that is because it has this screen right here on the N4 Pro. But for someone like me that's a minimalist, I don't need a screen on my dash cameras. When I've got my phone can just connect wirelessly to the Wi-Fi, and I can go through all the system setup. I can go through all the settings. I can download just using my phone for any videos that I need to download from there. So for me, I'm a huge fan of the DDPAI Mini for that reason, but you don't get the clarity from this, 1600p HD camera like you do on the Vantrue N4 Pro. So if you're looking to be able to read license plates in a much cleaner fashion, or if you want your video to just look more crisp and high definition, and by that I mean 4K compared to 1600p, then yeah, the Vantrue is where it's at. Am I going to keep this? Absolutely, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to replace my Mini and my Mini 5 by DDPAI. DDPAI? I don't know how you say it. You guys, I'm sure, will correct me in the comments below. But this was my front camera that looked out to traffic and other vehicles and looked out to the road. This was my camera that faced on the inside. So it would look at me and my passengers, and nice enough, it would also see what was going on behind my vehicle just from looking at the rear window of the vehicle. So I had my setup just like this. I had my windshield, say my hand is my windshield. I had my windshield here, and then facing the interior, I had my other camera sitting just below it. Now, with these two guys sitting right next to each other, you take that, and then let's add how wide and bulky the N4 Pro is, and you can start to tell that, yeah, there's quite a heft to this guy, and just sheer overall size. But I am looking forward to the fact that it's got the interior camera and the exterior camera, so that's going to be really nice. I also am very well aware that these dash camera companies that are going to 4K are having issues with heat. You have to mitigate heat, and that's understandable. I mean, look at the vents that are on here on the N4 Pro. You've got the vents here, and then you've got vents on the other side as well. So they're doing a great job with heat mitigation from all the other reviews that I've seen. So yeah, it's phenomenal. And I understand that for heat to be dissipated, you need to have some room in here. You need to have some components separated from other components. That way the thing doesn't overheat. And I have had my Mini, I think it's the Mini 1. I'll leave a link in the description down below for it if you guys decide that this is something that you want. But This has overheated in the summertime. No one has discussed the N4 Pro overheating. So I'm pretty pumped about that. My one caveat, after everything that I just said about the size of it, get rid of the monitor, get rid of the screen, and I think that would really lower the overall size of this thing and the weight of it as well. Not to mention, it's one less thing that you have to worry about for the heat. So if Vantrue is watching this video, I have only one complaint, and that is this thing is massive, but understandably so because of the heat. I would love to see an exact version of the N4 Pro without the screen. If they just remove the screen and made this in a smaller form factor, I think that that would be amazing. Moreover, adding on to the bulkiness of it, right? If they could have a mount that wasn't as big and as deep as this mount, and they moved to a mount like the DDPAI Mini 5, which is not, it doesn't stick out near as bad as this thing does, because again, you got this connecting here, right? So that's a lot of depth that's happening on your windshield. Versus here, it just slides in. That's as deep as it gets. So I'm a huge fan of that. And of course, here on the Mini as well, you got the same thing where everything is real nice. It's compact. It really gives an expansive, not to be confused with expensive, but it's an expansive view out of your windshield. And so I'm a massive fan of minimalism. I'm still very excited to run the N4 Pro. So I'm going to be selling my Mini 5. I'm going to be selling my original DDPAI Mini. Still don't know how you say the word. Getting rid of both of those and just running here. But if there's ever an N4 Pro 2, I'd love to see the mount be revised. Maybe it could be a mount that you could just slide over on a cylinder, perhaps, especially because there's not going to be a screen here. So, why not? Oh, on the subject of things I'd like to see upgraded, the mount, the screen being removed, so the bulkiness is gone. I know everybody on the dashcam forums is talking about wanting to see 60 frames per second. That'd be great, but now we're running into an issue of what kind of SD card can handle 60 frames per second at 4K, reading and writing not only on a front camera, not only on an interior camera, but now also dealing with the rear camera as well. So you've got 3 cameras coming into one SD card, and if you've got 60 frames per second at 4K, dude, that thing is reading and writing, and that's a lot for an SD card to handle. So sure, in a perfect world, 4K, 60 frames per second, that'd be amazing. This has the Sony Starvis 2, incredible rave reviews about that. I'll show you guys some footage here shortly. So yeah, now I'm adding 3 things I would like to see I'd like to see changed on the N4 Pro 2, if there is ever an N4 Pro 2. I would love the screen to be removed. I would love for this mount to be smaller and something more like a DDPAI or DDPAI Mini 5, or the mount that's on the original Mini 1. I'd really like to see if maybe the camera could be recessed into the bulkiness of here. And the reason why is because if you get rid of the screen, then couldn't that make some room for the camera to be recessed into the cylinder and still keep the Sony Starvis 2? I'm not an engineer. I don't make these products. I can't answer that question, but for someone like me, I'd love to see that. I'd also like to see the rear camera be removed. I could run one Vantrue 4 Pro 2.0, because we're talking about the future here, on the front windshield, and then I could run another one that also has an interior facing camera from the back facing towards the front, and a 4K, that's pointing out towards the rear. I think that'd be a pretty sweet setup, so that you don't have to concern yourself too much with the reading and the writing of 4 cameras, or in this case, 3 cameras, which is what's currently going on in the first version of the N4 Pro right now. But on this hypothetical version of the N4 Pro 2, maybe if we get that in 2024, 2025, who knows? But you just have one that doesn't have rear input, and then at that point I could buy 2 of them. So I think that'd be really great. Let me interject here for a second. This is leagues better than my DDPAI Mini 5 and my original DDPAI as far as the amount of features that you get, right? So don't let the opinions that I have earlier swayed you from getting something like this. Yeah, sure, it's bulky, absolutely, right? But you're getting these IR lights that are built into this interior facing camera. You're getting that built in, and it automatically turns on depending upon the lighting situation that you're in, which I'm a huge fan of. When I was looking at my Mini 5 footage, because I turned it and I faced it to the interior, and I also looked at the Mini and I faced it towards the interior, in different lighting conditions, these just kind of had poor quality when I would compare that to the Vantrue N4 Pro. When you've got those IR cameras that light up, and of course your video changes to black and white rather than color, but nonetheless, you really get a much clearer picture of the interior when compared to these guys here. Also, what I do love about Vantrue is Vantrue sends firmware updates at an incredibly quicker rate than the DDPAI. I mean, we have been giving DDPAI, however you say it, we've given them feedback and just kind of falls on deaf ears. They send firmware updates as they see fit. And this guy I've had for 5 years, this guy I've had for 2 years, and I've only gotten 3 firmware updates for this one, and I've only gotten 1 firmware update for the Mini 5. Unfortunately, all the other features that we've requested, that's just fallen on deaf ears. So that being said, massive amounts of features that are built into the N4 Pro, and we will get into that. Adding to the list of something that I would like to see in the N4 Pro 2.0 version is DDPAI, however you say it. They have what's called EEMSC or EEMC. You guys will correct me down in the comments, of course, but essentially both of these guys do not require an SD card like the N4 Vantrue Pro does. You have to have an SD card for this guy. But like most all 4K cameras, they are all requiring an SD card on there. So I would love if in the future Vantrue was to come out with an N4 Pro 2.0 that has built-in memory inside here. A guy can dream, right? Team, I forgot to mention that I'm running the SanDisk V30 Max Endurance. That's what this guy looks like here, and it's not adjusting. Cool. There we go. Now you guys can see it. This is the version that I'm using. Of course, you guys don't have to use this version. I'll leave a link down in the description below, but this is the one that has not failed me. So I'm a big fan. Vantrue also has their own as well, and they do recommend that. I've seen some reviews on that one as well, and people have really enjoyed it. So I'll leave a couple links down in the description below. You can decide which SD card that you would like. Anyway, I've blabbed enough. Let's get into some of this footage.